morning show.
Funny, yeah, we're keeping it on the move in 2025. And yes, I'm the other half of the duo, Benjamin Mushatama, and we're going to keep you going with the great conversations.
Turn it up.
Okay. On the Move comes back in 2025 to give you more of the content that made us a Maldo and to deliver that bold, boundary-pushing content that you love. And of course, giving you a ride through the 3 hours of news, views, and entertainment.
Every weekday from 9 to midday Central African time, right here on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Cool.
Let's go.
Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelele Ngubeni and Tebogo Lekhuleni. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories.
No. Oh, yeah. I'm in chains, you're in chains too. Our uniforms and you are uniforms too. I'm a prisoner, you're a
Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelele Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some Lucifer knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise. Only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture. Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni.
Jamming to this from start
No, that's only because it's an African classic. I remember when Asha came out, we were all obsessed with her. She had such a different sound.
Brilliant.
But we move our attention now to a significant story that, when it came out, particularly in light of the Amerikaners, we are calling them now?
Amerikaners.
Amerikaners. It bared quite a bit of importance. We'll find out later from Taryn if indeed those who have refugee status, if this will apply to them. But on the 6th of May this year, a court confirmed that Section 61A of the Citizenship Act is unconstitutional. Now, this section had automatically stripped South Africans of their citizenship if they took up another nationality through formal, voluntary means, except in the case of marriage. The court found the provision to be unfair, highlighting the lack of clear reasoning behind it and the wide, unchecked powers that it gave to the Minister of Home Affairs. Now, this ruling means that those who lost their citizenship under the law going as far back as 1995 are now legally considered to have lost it. And while this has opened the door for very many who once left the country to return with full rights restored, the road ahead may involve some delays due to administrative burdens. We are joined on the line by Senior Associate in Employment Law and Immigration at Cliff Decker Hofmeyr, and that is Taryn York. Taryn, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Taryn?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Hi, there you go.
Hi.
We can hear you now.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Taryn, perhaps let's start off by you explaining the significance of this recent ruling pertaining to the citizenship of those who decided to leave pre-1995.
The judgment is quite significant. It was first the section of the Citizenship Act, being Section 61A, was first declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court of Appeal and was just recently confirmed to be unconstitutional by the Constitutional Court. Now, in terms of that judgment, anyone who has automatically lost their citizenship, in terms of that section, will automatically have their citizenship restored. So that's the significance.
Well, we are currently in conversation with Taryn York, Senior Associate in Employment Law and Immigration at Cliff Decker Hofmeyr, to tell us about the reclamation of citizenship in South Africa. It's 21 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time.
All right, perhaps let's not take that break right now. Taryn, tell us about some key legal implications of restoring the citizenship rights for South Africans who've lived abroad.
So I think the implication is that they would have their citizenship restored automatically from the 6th of October 1995. So, that is really the crux of the case. But what that means is they're entitled to all the rights an ordinary citizen would ordinarily be entitled to in terms of the Bill of Rights, including the right to work in South Africa.
Taryn, you said it's automatic, but do they need to come back to South Africa to reapply? What are the practical steps that need to be taken?
So from a practical point of view, what we have seen from an announcement from the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Leon Schreiber, is that Home Affairs is in the process of building a dedicated online portal for any person who believes that they were adversely affected by the unconstitutionality of the provision can then lodge an online case to confirm their citizenship reinstatement from anywhere in the world, which means they don't have to come to South Africa in order to have that process finalized.
What does this mean for South Africans who have dual citizenship from other countries?
Excuse me?
So tell us about how the ruling then would affect the status of those who have dual citizenship for South Africans acquired in other countries.
So nothing precludes South Africa in the future from amending any law to ensure constitutional compliance with the aim of having South Africans with dual citizenship forfeit their South African citizenship, but until such time, it doesn't have an effect on them.
And Taryn, say for example, someone left South Africa and went to another country, for example, and forfeited their South African citizenship to take up citizenship in another country. Then they have children in that country. Does this now mean because they're able to reclaim their citizenship in South Africa, do those kids now also have South African citizenship?
Yes, they would have had to register their kids' citizenship at the nearest embassy or consulate in their country of residence.
And is this a precedent-setting ruling?
It definitely is. I mean, we consider it as being a landmark ruling from the Constitutional Court and the Supreme Court of Appeal because of the repercussions on people who have lost their citizenship unbeknownst to them.
And Taryn, do we have a number? Do we know how many people were affected and how many people the Home Affairs will have to then cater for during this administrative process?
Unfortunately not, but it is quite a number of people.
Tell us about its implications for human rights and potentially citizenship laws globally. Does it have any bearing there?
No, because every country has their own set of citizenship legislation. So this wouldn't necessarily have a bearing on any other jurisdiction, just on our jurisdiction in terms of the loss of citizenship for these individuals.
Yeah, and just for clarity, Taryn, so the administrative framework hasn't been put up together, those structures have not been put together. Are there any timelines, deadlines that have been communicated that people need to be aware of?
Home Affairs did indicate that it should be ready by next month, being June. So we were quite hopeful that it will be done by then.
All right. What advice would you give to South Africans who are still unsure about their citizenship status or the restoration process?
So I think they need to just keep a lookout on any announcements from the Department of Home Affairs and know that regardless of the administrative process, that they are protected by the Constitutional Court judgment reconfirming their citizenship status.
Taryn, thank you so much for your time and for giving us clarity on this rather momentous occasion and ruling for many South Africans. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
The voice there of Taryn York, Senior Associate in Employment Law and Immigration at Cliff Decker Hofmeyr, telling us about the dual citizenship reclamation of South Africans who left and said, hey, and automatically were denounced of their citizenship in South Africa. Now the ruling is that, no, they were not supposed to have lost it, and automatically it needs to be restored. I wonder for those people who were doing business or who were affected by that ruling and they could not do business in South Africa, but they were born here, but they now are elsewhere, established elsewhere.
So I know someone who's France-based, but still had business dealings here. Just
really?
Okay. It was a co-owned company, and as an international citizen, that's fine.
You're allowed.
And he have to travel some 2 times a month back to South Africa.
Just
yeah.
No, that's hectic, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, if I'm not mistaken, it's not that you were automatically just, your citizenship taken away from you. You had to inform the minister or something like that. If you were moving to another country and you wanted to pick up the citizenship of that country, you had to inform the Home Affairs minister and let them know, listen, I'm moving, can you please somewhat keep my citizenship or something like that? Just inform them.
So there'd have to be a process of you explaining why it is that you're taking up a citizenship in a different country.
You had to motivate.
Motivate, essentially.
Oh,
and it was per case, right?
Yeah.
But I suppose this is good news for people who want to perhaps be employed in South Africa.
Yeah.
Well, this remote working business, I don't see... Yeah, or people who just want to come back home and be here and live here and be citizens again.
What about these Amerikaners who don't want to be back home in South Africa?
They're fine. They must tell me how it goes after. I'm keen to hear in 3 years. Check in with them after 3. In fact, I think that's a long time. A year.
Have you seen their homes?
They're acclimatizing
In America?
I haven't.
Very standard, very basic. Do you remember, what was that show? Extreme Homeowners or Home Makeovers?
No, I don't know that show.
There was a show, Extreme Home Makeovers, where they would come and, based on the story, obviously, if the story connected with them, they would pretty much give you a new house. They would destroy the one that you're living in and then build you a proper mansion. The ones they're living in, the Amerikaners, it's the before pictures.
But I don't know why anyone would have thought they'd be living on the lap of luxury. I mean, they get a 20,000 rands once-off payment to set themselves up, which is nothing.
Especially in America. What are you going to buy? Oh, you can go to the dollar store, isn't it? Isn't there a dollar store? That's
also,
in America?
I suppose, an option. But yeah, I did not for 1 second think that they would be living large. You're a refugee.
So do you think they will just continue to remain dual citizenship then? They will remain Americans, or they're going to try and be Americans at some stage and then keep the South African status? Do you think they're going to keep that? Or because they don't want anything to do with South Africa anymore, they're like, no, it's fine. We don't care. Let's just get rid of the citizenship.
I believe that they cannot come back for visits.
They can't.
So
I wonder what that will mean, actually. Interesting times lie ahead. Interesting times indeed. It is now 30 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Quite a few things happened on the sports fields this past weekend.
Very upsetting stuff.
Upsetting for who?
Me.
Sundowns. But it was a draw.
I know. It's still upsetting.
Leg. There's a second leg.
We're a bunch of winners. We don't do just basics, average.
Even me, I'm disappointed.
Exactly. You ought to be disappointed. I was very upset with Sundowns this weekend.
Anyway, let's get the latest in sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good afternoon from the sports desk. I am Musibudi Makura with your latest sports news at this hour. We'll start here. So Athletics South Africa Athletes Commission Chairperson Hendrik Mokhanyetsi says the sport's future looks promising following a strong showing by 10 South African athletes at the Diamond League meet in Rabat, Morocco on Sunday night. Mokhanyetsi believes ASA is making the right strides ahead of the World Senior Championships in Tokyo, Japan later on this year. So Agani Simbeni, Prudence Khodiso as well as Zagiti Nene delivered standout performances in Morocco. Simbeni claiming victory in the 100 meter in a time of 9.95 seconds. Khodiso finishing in second place in the women's 800 meter. This was in a time of 1 minute 57.52 seconds, while Nene secured second place in the men's 400 meter in a time of 44.46 seconds. Mokhanyetsi says the athletes are inspired by South ASA's ongoing efforts to make sure that they succeed on the global stage.
I think the overall performance of our athletes shows the continuity the athletes that are making on the world stage, and also puts the federation on the upper level in compared to where we're coming from and what we are developing to achieve. You know, athletes are being exposed to such competitions so that they explore their talent. And as a federation, that's our responsibility that we've been doing, creating a conducive environment for the athletes to go and perform and showcase their talent. So
he further says the athletes represented South Africa with pride and also assured that the federation has more to offer in track and field.
You know, our athletes has put up some strong show across the multiple events, proving their competitiveness on the global stage. Looking at how they performed at Rabat, we are very excited as a federation, and I believe that people who love athletics also will go to their TVs and see what's happening in terms of athletics. The athletes have raised the flag very high, and we are very excited as Athletics South Africa.
On to football news now. Former Manchester boss Erik ten Hag has been appointed as manager of Bayer Leverkusen on a 2-year contract. The 55-year-old Dutchman replaces Xavi Alonso, who left Leverkusen to join Real Madrid. Now, ten Hag has been out of a job since getting sacked by United in October of last year, with the Old Trafford club languishing 14th in the Premier League standings in October of last year. So his most recent successful stint came at Ajax Amsterdam, where he coached between 2018 and 2022, winning the title there 3 times and then taking the club to the Champions League semi-finals in 2019. Under Spaniard Alonso, Leverkusen secured a double in the 2023-2024 season as they lifted their first ever Bundesliga title without losing a game, and also won the German Cup and also reached the final of the Europa League. Ten Hag had been linked to a return to Ajax before penning a deal with Leverkusen, who finished second to Bayern in the Bundesliga this season. On to tennis news now. The French Open first round continues today at Roland Garros, with defending champions Carlos Alcaraz as well as Iga Swiatek beginning their title defences, while the world number 1 Jannik Sinner opens his quest for a 4th Grand Slam crown. Swiatek, who lifted the trophy in 2020, 2022, 2023, also last year, has been far from her best in the clay swing and slipped out of the world's top 3 for the first time since March of 2022. This after falling short in Madrid and Rome. She faces Slovakian Rebecca Samkova in the opening match. In the pick of the first round matches, Naomi Osaka will be up against Paula Badosa of Spain in the first round of this competition. Osaka has never made it past the 3rd round in Paris, but can take heart to her performances at the WTA 125 tournament in France, where she picked up her first win and her first title on the clay court. Meanwhile, defending champion Alcaraz is a strong favourite in the men's singles after lifting trophies in both Monte Carlo and Rome. The Spanish world number 2 was initially scheduled to face off with Kei Nishikori, who will instead play the 110th ranked Julio Zapperi of Italy. This after the Japanese former world number 2 withdrew from this year's competition. They faced off at the Croatia Open. That was Zapperi as well as Alcaraz back in 2022. And it was a match that Alcaraz won, so many predicting that he will not have any trouble progressing into the next round. Jannik Sinner, meanwhile, is also bidding for a 3rd Grand Slam title in a row as he begins his campaign against Frenchman Arthur Rendekanch later on today, hoping to, of course, move into the 2nd round of this competition. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Zilipendwa na Abedi Jean de la Croix.
Uzuri na ukubwa wa kazi yako unatokana na nini?
Kwanza kabisa ni kujifunza vitu mbalimbali, lakini pia kuvaa uhalisia wa jamii kile inachopitia, kujifunza vitu vipya, lakini pia kufanya mazoezi na kumshirikisha Mungu katika career yangu ya muziki.
Bila shaka. Je, management na wadhamini vile vile wana nafasi kubwa au wana nafasi gani katika mafanikio yako kikazi?
Niseme labda wana asilimia 99 katika mafanikio ya muziki wangu, management au mabosi wangu.
Umewahi pia kupokea salamu za pongezi au ukosoaji kuhusiana na muziki wako?
Nilishapokea nyingi sana kutoka sehemu mbalimbali, DRC, Tanzania na East Africa nzima kwa jumla.
Tuzungumzie kuhusu ukosoaji sasa. Unajisikia pale unapokosolewa?
Najisikia vizuri sana. Unajua usipokosolewa ina maana wewe sio binadamu wa kawaida, kwa sababu asiyekosolewa pekee ni Mungu.
Zilipendwa kila Jumamosi kuanzia saa 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati hadi saa 1 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
It's 37 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African Time. This is The Upside. We're broadcasting live from the Auckland Park Studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Let's now find out how the markets are moving with our business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Africa. We would love to hear your voice on our radio station. Be part of the fun and send a shout out or greeting message to your loved ones and your favorite Channel Africa presenters. Whether you're in Africa, the diaspora, or anywhere else around the globe, we want to hear your voice. Send your shout out message by sending an email to info@.
Spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Business news on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Good afternoon. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says US President Donald Trump will attend the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg later this year. This comes after President Ramaphosa and a South African delegation met with President Trump in Washington last week. Tabisa Luhoko has more.
President Ramaphosa has acknowledged in his weekly letter to the nations that while there was a need to correct false claims of a so-called white genocide, the overarching goal of his engagement was to deepen a strategic economic partnership with the US, who is the country's second largest trading partner. The presidency is pleased with the meeting, saying the meeting established a basis for greater engagement and cooperation. The president has further extended an invitation to President Trump to send a government and business delegation to South Africa to explore opportunities for deepening investment and trade.
Public Interest South Africa has formally written to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Communications, Khusela Sangoni, to request an opportunity to make a formal submission to Parliament. This submission aims to oppose the recent proposal by the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Solly Malatsi, to exempt Elon Musk's satellite operator Starlink from compliance with South Africa's broad-based black economic empowerment requirements in the ICT sector. Tebogo Lekhuleni is the chairperson of Public Interest South Africa.
There are concerns that we've raised, chief among them being legal and procedural concerns around this proposed exemption. For instance, we believe firmly that there may be overreach on the of communication. And we know that the issue of equity equivalence rests within the Department of Trade and Industry. And obviously, whatever proposals he may have, they will still have to be approved or sanctioned by the Department of Trade and Industry. Having said that, it appears that there's no alignment between the two departments.
The former Kenyan Cabinet Minister Amina Mohamed has added her voice behind the election of Swazi Chabalala as the new head of the African Development Bank. Mohamed argues that Chabalala's candidacy represents not only a milestone for gender equality, but a strategic choice for the continent's future. Member and co-founder of Global Women Leaders, Susanna Malcora, has also made a case why the AfD must seize this historic opportunity to elect its first woman president.
The FDB remains actually one of the 19 international organizations that have never had a woman at the helm. And so this election is a historic one. It provides a wonderful opportunity, elect a woman to lead the FDB.
Nigeria is set to commission 2 major lithium processing plants this year, marking a shift from raw mineral exports towards adding value domestically. The facilities, largely funded by Chinese investors, could help transform Nigeria's vast mineral wealth into jobs, technology and manufacturing growth within the country. Mining Minister Dele Alake says a $600 million lithium processing plant near the Kaduna-Niger border is slated for commissioning this quarter, while a $200 million lithium refinery on the outskirts of Abuja is nearing completion. The minister says the 2 additional processing plants are expected in Nasarawa State, which borders the capital Abuja, before the third quarter of 2025. Eurozone government bond yields have edged up as the US backed away from its threat to slap 50% tariffs on on European imports, soothing fears of a sharp economic slowdown. US President Donald Trump agreed on Sunday to extend the deadline until the 9th of July for talks between Washington and the 27-nation bloc to produce a deal. Germany's 10-year yield rose 3 basis points to 2.60% after dropping 6.5 basis points on Friday. Now let's take a look at our indicators this afternoon. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1 naira 589. In Botswana, it's at 13 pula 30. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 22. And in Zambia, it's at 27 kwacha 46. Moving on to the BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 64. Russia, 79 rubles 41. India, 85 rupees 10. China, it's at 7 yuan 19. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 80 cents. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Looking at the commodities, gold is trading at $3,326 this afternoon, and platinum at $1,086 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $65.16 a barrel. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Buntle Hedbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa with Lulu Kabu.
Protesters in Ghana have accused the country's president of violating the constitution and interfering in the independence of the judiciary. Eric Mawena Egbeta, the opposition protesters calling for the reinstatement of Tokonu.
The presidency and the president and all of its spokespersons around the seat of government have had one narrative and one narrative only, that no constitutional breaches have occurred in the process up until now, which has resulted in the suspension of the Chief Justice. In fact, it does appear the government has already communicated to these protesters that we're not interested in having the Chief Justice return and fill her position until the determination of the matter. We believe that she must remain suspended for the investigations to take place, after which the final determination will inform whether or not she returns.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time. Join Tebogo and Nompumelele on the upside, where optimism meets opportunity. The upside. On the upside, your voice matters. Nompumelele Ngubeni talks money for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle. We deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning. International Africa in Business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6. We put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelele Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in Business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram, or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
An investigation by South Africa's non-profit organization Open Secrets has found that telecoms company MTN has played a role in shutting down the internet during elections and wars in Sudan, Cameroon, Iran, Afghanistan and Uganda, thus enabling governments to silence the opposition.
Interestingly, this isn't just unique to MTN. I think the report also looks at Vodacom DRC as being a proponent of one of these violations, particularly in shutting down the internet during the elections in 2018 and 2019. Autocratic regimes are able to utilize the licenses that they have with these telecom companies, basically to, suppress political dissent. And the result is that many people are left without connectivity. And not only does this affect people's ability to communicate with their loved ones and access vital emergency services, but also at a very basic level of access to information.
The Open Secrets investigator, Lu Forno Nduli.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa, weekdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Central African Time. The Upside. On the Upside, your voice matters.
I really don't. It's 8 minutes before 2 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to The Upside. And the reason I don't want to embarrass myself is because our fabulous, phenomenal producer, Nompumelele Tango.
She really is fabulous on any other occasion, but when it's quiz time. We love her to death.
She's prepared a quiz for us in celebration of Africa Month for the next couple of days. Every single day there will be a quiz.
Friday,
Until Friday. And so far they've proven to be quite challenging. If you'd like to take part, in our quiz this afternoon. Send us a WhatsApp +276340699126. Send through your answers there, and also on our social media platforms at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Are you ready?
If you want to see Tebogo sweating it out, do head on over to our live stream as well on YouTube. It is at Channel Africa. You can see it in real time, what's happening
I'm
in
a
studio.
better host of game nights and what than I am
not
a
a participant. Yeah.
Right? Thank you.
I love these general knowledge games on, when I'm in the comfort of my home.
Absolutely.
And there's no judgment coming from the internet.
100%.
But
and it's even worse because she doesn't even give options.
All right. Hello, Nompumelele Tenga.
How are you
Hi, guys. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good.
Firstly, today I'm actually going to give you guys an option with one of the questions.
How many questions?
We've got five.
Five as
So
always.
the rules
okay.
are we've got 5 questions. Whoever says their name first is the one who gets a chance to answer.
What's our theme today? Because you didn't tell us a theme. You're not going to tell us.
No, it's
okay.
according to our features. So it's going to be a theme.
Property.
Land.
Right.
Land.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
How did you know this? He probably studied.
I didn't know anything.
I said this last week on air, actually.
Okay.
It's not like I was paying attention. But
Okay,
anyway.
so the first one, right, is what is this flag from? Which country is this flag from? So for those who are listening, it is red, it's striped red, black, and green with a crescent or moon and a star right next to
Nompumelele.
it. Nompumelele.
Tunisia.
Wrong.
Tebogo.
Tebogo.
I'm going to say it's Sudan.
Wrong.
Oh, I love how he says it like he's an oracle, like he's come to this understand, this deep knowing from the divine.
All right.
So it's Libya.
It's
Libya.
Tebogo, you watch a lot of soccer. You should have known that.
And
I'm very disappointed in myself there. Very disappointed.
Which country is the largest in Africa?
Tebogo.
Algeria.
Algeria.
He
Well
is
done.
correct. 1 point goes to Tebogo. Okay. What's the longest river in Africa?
Nompumelele.
Tebogo said it
The Nile River.
We said it at the same time.
No, we didn't.
Okay. Which African country produces the largest percentage of gold? Korea.
This is a land.
I'm going to say South Africa.
Rather, let me rephrase the question.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
sorry,
All
guys.
right, no worries.
What percentage does Africa produce gold to the world?
Tebogo.
But
Percentage.
yeah,
I'm going to say
I didn't give the options, but that's your choice.
I'm going to say 80%.
Wrong.
Nompumelele.
The options are 40%,
They're options.
50%,
60, yeah.
or 70%. You didn't wait for the question to finish.
Yeah, she sent.
Okay.
What is happening?
I love this side of the world.
40. You said what are the options?
40%, 50%, or 70%.
I'm so inclined to say 70.
Is that your final
No,
answer?
it's 50. It's 70. Wait. It's 70%.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
You know the problem about copying from your next door
It's
neighbor
50. It's
is
50.
when you're wrong,
It
you're
can't be
very
because
wrong.
I was gonna go for
It's her time to
60.
explain
Wait,
after.
hold on. I was gonna go for 60. I don't know why there isn't an option for 60 because I feel like that's the right one.
Well,
but
that is
the
the wrong
median, what, 50?
Yeah,
Six-
it's 40%.
Yeah, okay. Damn.
So even in your reasoning, you were wrong there.
Goodness.
Okay, the last one.
Yes, let's go.
Which country is predicted to be the fastest growing economy in
Nompumelele?
South Africa for 2025? Nompumelele?
Ethiopia.
Wrong.
Oh.
Wrong.
That's very interesting. I thought it was Ethiopia. It's something. Was that last year?
I think 2023 because this one is starts
okay.
from 2024.
All right. Okay.
For the win. Kenya.
And then
It's
the thing is,
that he gets it wrong after the
Wait.
exercise.
after the whole theatrics.
Niger, guys.
Sorry, it's
Niger.
Niger.
For 2025. Oh, that's
Niger.
important.
Why? Do you know why?
I did not
That's
even.
so
that did not
I
even
wouldn't
factor
have gotten that.
in my top 10.
I still had Ethiopia. All right.
So this for today,
This
Tebogo
guy.
is in the lead. So in total, we've got 3 to Tebogo and 1 to Nompumelele.
Thank you very much.
And total
Okay, we
of
have
the games are
time.
7, might I add.
We have time.
We still have time.
4 more. Yeah.
So if I win tomorrow, it's over. We are done.
Just don't win tomorrow.
I'm not going to win tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll leave it to the decider, which will be.
Yes, that's a
on
more
Friday.
exciting game than you just winning, and there's no point to the rest
Wait,
of the week.
I'm not here on Friday, so we'll do it on Thursday.
Oh,
we'll have to do
yes,
2
that's
quizzes
right.
on Thursday.
Yeah, all right.
That we can do.
Okay.
To decide.
Thank you, Nombuyisela
Thank
Tango.
you,
That was
madam.
actually really fun. We learned quite a lot in this one. Do it more often, okay? That was really, really exciting. Now we know what the Algerian flag looks like. Do you remember?
The Libyan flag. Libyan
I know
flag.
at least that Niger is the fastest growing
Niger,
economy on the
absolutely.
continent. All right.
All right. Let's get the latest news
Onele
headlines
Ntsisi.
with Onele because she's better with facts.
Yeah, she would have probably
She's very accurate.
really kicked this one out of the park.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Mpumi. Looking at your top stories, Uganda's military cuts all military cooperation with Germany and the new president of Romania to be sworn into office today. Your latest news, greetings to our listeners. Uganda's military has announced that it has cut all military cooperation with Germany. Uganda has accused Berlin ambassador to Kampala, Matthias Shawa, of involvement in subversive activities in the country. Channel Africa correspondent in Uganda, Mike Arering, explains.
The announcement was made on Wednesday by Colonel Chris Magezi, Acting Director of Defense Public Information, citing serious national security concerns. According to Uganda People's Defense Forces, the suspension was made possible following credible intelligence alleging that the German ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Matthias Shawa, was engaging in dangerous activities that undermine Uganda internal stability. The Uganda Army emphasized that according to the intelligence findings as justification for terminating military relations.
South Africa's former President Thabo Mbeki says the current and the previous administrations in the Democratic Republic of Congo do not understand the challenges that are facing the country. This after DRC Parliament lifted former President Joseph Kabila's immunity from prosecution. DRC authorities intend to charge the former president with treason and war crimes, linking him to the M23 rebels who have taken control of several towns in the east of the country. While in South Africa, Kabila said the unity of the country is at risk. Mbeki says the situation in the DRC is complex.
The government in Kinshasa, like many others, including Joseph Kabila's government, the government in Kinshasa, I don't think has properly understood the Congo, its challenges, and therefore provide the right solutions. What was very clearly understood by Patrice Lumumba and others, that the task of the unification of the Congo is very important.
A sit-at-home order by banned separatist group Indigenous People of Biafra IPOB in Nigeria's southeast has led to the death of over 700 people in the region over the past 4 years. This is detailed by an intelligence consultancy in a news report. IPOB, campaigning for the succession of the southeast that is predominantly inhabited by the Igbo ethnic group, has been labelled as a terrorist organization by Nigerian authorities. SBM intelligence reported that the fatalities resulted from the killing of civilians who defied the weekly stay-at-home order every Monday and on other specific days, as well as from clashes between the IPOB and Nigerian security forces. South Africa has officially reopened the Lesotho Highlands Water Project tunnel in Clarence in the Free State Province. This follows a 6-month shutdown for joint maintenance led by Water and Sanitation Minister Phemi Majodina and her deputies David Mahlobo and Silo Sitlolo. The project resumed water flow to the Ash River on the 22nd of May. While South Africa completed its maintenance in March, delays in Lesotho extended the shutdown. South Africa's Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, Silo Sitlolo.
6 or 7 months or so in terms of the actual maintenance of the Lesotho Highlands Tunnel, both here on our side in South Africa as well as in Lesotho. It's just work that needed to do with a lot of sandblasting, the repainting of the steel, and quite a number of engineering-related scoping of work that was done over the past 6 or 7 months or so. But just also to indicate that on our side in South Africa, we were done on schedule as communicated by the department through the minister. And unfortunately, our colleagues in Lesotho obviously had quite a number of challenges, unforeseen circumstances such as inclement weather that led to the delay of the completion of the maintenance of the tunnel.
And lastly, the new president of Romania, Nicuzo Dan, will be sworn into office today, having defeated his nationalist rival a week ago. The 55-year-old former mayor must now meet the daunting challenge of appointing a government that can unite a divided country. He must also rebuild an economy threatened by another rating downgrade and a ballooning budget deficit. The BBC's Nick Thorpe reports.
Nicuzo Dan first came to public attention in Romania as an environmental activist, campaigning to save heritage buildings in Bucharest from demolition and increase the city's green areas. As mayor of the city for the past 5 years, he's credited with improving its disastrous finances. A mathematician by training, he now faces his biggest challenge: to reunite a deeply divided country. His surprise election victory against the nationalist George Simeon was warmly welcomed by liberals across Europe.
Now recapping on your top stories, Uganda's military has announced that it has cut all military cooperation with Germany. Uganda has accused Berlin's ambassador to Kampala, Matthias Schauer, of involvement in subversive activities in the country. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It is 7 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to The Upside with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelele Ngubeni. We'll be with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African Time. It's the second hour of The Upside, and we're coming to you live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. Happy Monday. Stream us live on our social media platform at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Use the hashtag The Upside. If you have DSTV, it's channel 802 or OpenView channel 628. In this hour, we get into conversations about property.
Yeah, so the FNB Bank has released their latest house price index, which has revealed continued upward trajectory in home values. This has been averaging some 2.2% in April,
Ooh.
which is up from 2.0% in March.
That sounds good on paper.
These, however, represent 2023 stats. Right?
Oh,
we're going to be reflecting on that. What has led to this upward trajectory?
Mm-hmm.
Who is contributing towards this upward trajectory? And what can people who have not contributed to its upward mobility do to be contributors?
Exciting time to be getting into the property market. I mean, everyone always talks about, hey, I must get property. Property is the way forward. That's where the investment should be. Seeing these numbers, that should encourage you, should it not? On paper, anyway.
It should, absolutely. I want to know about the market trends, about some of the behavior, buyers' behavior, so that we can kind of you adjust yourself and your pocket to be a contributor, an active contributor in the property market in the country.
That's going to be our our second conversation this afternoon. If you'd like to chime in and send us questions, please send it on the WhatsApp line, +276 406 9126. Maybe you're a property owner yourself and you want to know what this actually means for me as a property owner or looking to get into the property space, and you have some questions that you need answered. That WhatsApp line again, +276 406 9126.
Or perhaps you are already a property owner and you know a thing or two about how to navigate this space. Let us know what your experience has been. What do you suggest people ought to be looking out for as well when considering buying property, or once they have bought property and are looking to expand their portfolio? Looking forward to it. Of course, lots of music. It is what caught your eye in the next hour. In the next hour. That one is always exciting to see. So we are going to be back right after this. It's 10 minutes after 2 Central African time.
Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay logged right here.
Mix Vibration sur Channel Africa.
Révérend Dr Allen.
Je suis content, très heureux d'être de la partie ce soir et bonjour à tous nos auditeurs.
Je rappelle que pour les intimes, il vous appelle bien sûr BMB. Aujourd'hui, nous parlons courage sur Mix Vibration. Comment définissez-vous le terme courageux?
Ça vient du latin cor, qui veut tout simplement exprimer la bravoure, la force de l'âme ou encore la virilité, le héroïsme que quelqu'un peut avoir en face de difficultés, en face de problèmes, en face de défis.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel Africa.
Okay.
Adivinha só, a Channel Africa quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel Africa está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Your afternoons just got even better, fresh and exciting. The Upside, hooking you up with today's news from an African perspective.
Anybody will won't fight you.
8 p.m. Mariamo Kumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The hotlines and the recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. With Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelele Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelele Ngubeni. Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us
here featuring Simi.
Some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge.
My name is Nompumelele Ngubeni. I'm with Tebogo Lekhuleni, and we are, here at your service, bringing you all the good stuff, music, lots of beautiful and insightful chats. And we'll be speaking about property in this hour.
Absolutely. The South Africa's property market is showing signs of life, but it's not quite a booming one just yet. According to the latest FNB property market report, house prices rose by 2.2% in April 2025, the fastest annual growth since March 2023. That said, volumes are still down, affordability remains a key challenge, and financial pressures continue to shape cautious buyer behavior. With talk of possible interest rate cuts and tweaks to transfer duties, the big question is, are we turning a corner or still stuck in neutral? Joining us to unpack the trends is Sipamandla Mkhwanazi, FNB senior economist. Sipamandla, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Thank you very much, Tebogo. I'm happy to be here.
Let's talk about this 2.2% increase in house prices. It sounds good, right, on paper, but what does that actually mean for the average South African?
Right. So as you would know, that an average household in South Africa, their biggest investment would be their property. Yes, we are seeing shifts more recently where households are tapping into the financial asset side of things, but in the main, when you talk of household investment, it's mainly houses. So we are talking about the balance sheet of consumers here. So a 2.2%, I mean, it's still lower than inflation. Inflation last month hit 2.8.
Yeah.
It means that it is growing, but still below inflation. But I think what is more important here, Tebogo, is that the trend is showing signs of improvement. And I think that's what, as homeowners, we should be holding on to. And especially if we continue to see further interest rate cuts, there could be more support in the system there.
Spamandla, let's talk about this lag that exists between current stats and the stats that we had pre-pandemic. What do you think is causing this lag?
Yeah, so this is quite interesting, Nompumelele, that when you speak to estate agents, they are the busiest since COVID. Mortgages as well. They are also saying that the mortgage originators, rather, they are also saying that they are seeing decent volumes. But when it comes to actual house buying activity, those volumes are improving, but still relatively flat. So that tells me that somewhere along the line, somewhere along the process of buying a house, we are losing volumes. So I attribute this to still existing, affordability hurdles. Yes, interest rates are coming down, but this could be consumers telling us, or prospective buyers telling us that, they would like to see more interest rate cuts coming. So that is the first part. The second part is that we mustn't forget that we are coming straight from one of the worst cost of living crises in a generation.
Sure.
So that is still fresh in consumers' minds. So when there are those hints of, affordability, so there's this caution still that is existing within, that is still existing from a consumer perspective that, for example, if you look at, the number of households that got their fingers burned when interest rates were about 3.5%, a lot of them jumped into the market and bought houses. And then quickly after that, we saw interest rates spiking up. So those experiences are still fresh in the minds of prospective buyers. So there's still that caution taking place. So those two things, in my opinion.
It is 20 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time. We are still in conversation with Spamandla Mkhwanazi. He's the senior economist at FNB to tell us about this upward move or upward trajectory of the property market in South Africa, albeit so small, but it is looking good on paper at the moment. We'll continue this conversation after this.
Call us on +27 63 406 9126 and contribute to the conversation. We are telling aspirational and empowering stories this Africa Month on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside. Your daily dose of inspiration, innovation, and untold stories from across Africa. With Nompumelele and Tebogo.
Well, it's 21 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time. Let's continue our conversation with Spamandla Mkhwanazi, FNB's senior economist, about the house price rising by 2.2% in April 2025. Spamandla, are we seeing regional differences? Are there certain cities or provinces that are performing better than others at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we would like to see out of this data is that, this growth in house prices become a bit more dispersed across the country. At the moment, a lot of it is actually coming from the Western Cape, particularly in Cape Town and surroundings. So they are getting support from what we call semi-migration. So these would be affluent households who are moving from the inland, looking for opportunities, buying opportunities in those regions. That is also supported by the fact that we are now able to work remotely. Yes, so that trend is slowing up, but it is still there. We saw, because of that, you have provinces or you have regions such as Johannesburg that are losing these kind of households to Cape Town. So the positivity that this is having in Cape Town, you're having the negative effect of that in regions such as Johannesburg. You look at Durban, for example, as well. They've been dealing with a lot of natural disasters there, so that has had it's still some fear on homeowners in Durban. So now, when they are selling, there is that fear that I'm not going to attain my initial asking price, so they keep on, cutting the price just to strike the deal, and that has an effect of, weighing on prices there. The good news, though, is that although prices are still low in cities such as Johannesburg, we are now starting to see some recovery. Still low, but we are starting to see some recovery. So a lot of it is coming from the Western Cape. There are other regions that are not as big in terms of property transactions. The Northwest, for example, is one of them. We're seeing good growth there as well in the Harties region. Bloemfontein as well is not that bad. So a lot of it, as I said, is more concentrated in the Western Cape.
Espamandla, tell us about this. The report does suggest that a potential price growth of up to 3% may occur by 2026. Can you tell us about some of the economic indicators that you are monitoring that could cause this?
Yeah. So there's a lot of bad news around, but we forget also that the consumer fundamentals are improving. So the first one is that we have inflation that is below target. It's 2.8% at the moment. So that means more rents in the pockets of consumers.
Yeah.
You have interest rates that are also coming down. Once again, for those who are indebted, more rents into the pockets of consumers. I know that there has been a lot of noise of late, but generally, stability in the country is so much better than where we were around this time last year, from a political perspective, and how markets reacted to that. So those supporting fundamentals. You also look at the labor market. Because of low inflation, we are starting to see workers getting wage increases that are above inflation. Again, buying power for so those fundamentals are showing some signs of improvement from a consumer perspective. Now, if we get more interest rate cuts, as we do expect later on in the year, that is going to have a supporting effect on the property market. It's going to push prices higher. Now, the buyers that I mentioned that were cautious, once they start seeing those interest rate cuts coming through, they're more likely to jump back into the market, increasing demand and pushing prices higher. In fact, when I look at the trajectory of our FNB house price index, it does suggest that we could actually reach that 3% even before 2026, more towards the end of this year.
And Spamandla, who is buying at the moment? Demographics. Is it young people? Is it black people? Is it women? Who's buying at the moment?
Yeah, over the last 3-4 years or so, by the way, women have dominated the home market.
Yeah.
I do not know what the drivers are there, but yeah, we are seeing women dominating.
Independence, man. We're tired.
Long may it last, yes.
Please.
But we kind of saw two waves. I would characterize it as two waves of buying, especially since the elections. So immediately after the elections, nothing else much changed except this positive sentiment that came through. That positive sentiment also came with higher buying volumes in South Africa. So I would say somewhere between June and September, October, somewhere there. Now, these are people who are not necessarily driven by interest rates, rather people who are driven by better sentiment. So those more your affluent buyers that pushed that trend. Now we started seeing interest rates coming down a little bit. Now, interest rates, generally, lower interest rates stimulate demand more in the lower end of the market. It doesn't mean that other segments of the market do not occur. It just means that it has a bigger impact in the lower end of the market. So at the moment, it's a mix. It's a bit of a mixed bag. But all of these buyers are driven by different things. What is still missing here is more participation from younger buyers. So you're younger than 35, for example, not participating as much in the market. They're taking longer and longer to start buying their first home. So you look at the average age of the first-time buyer. It's moved from 2019 from around 34-ish or so. It's going towards 36 now. So younger buyers are taking more and more time But as I mentioned, it's a different story for women. They're getting younger and younger. First-time buyers are getting younger and younger.
Spamandla, with the potential increase in transfer duty threshold, how do you foresee this will impact on demand and for affordable housing in particular?
Yeah, so buying a house is unlike buying a car, for example. It's unlike buying a fridge. It comes with a lot of upfront costs. So the increase in the threshold around about 10% means that the effective cost is also of buying a house is also lowered by about 10%. So you will not going to pay a transfer duty until you reach that threshold of, I think it's around about 1.2 million. Anything.
Oh, Spamandla, we are losing you slightly.
It has that stimulated.
If you could just repeat that. Anything under 1.2 million, you said.
Yes, something around 1.2 million. You are not going to pay a transfer duty, so that lowers your upfront costs of acquiring a house, and that goes all the way to other segments as well. It just lowers your effective cost of acquiring a house. Now, the impact of that generally is that it stimulates demand in lower values, because if you were to make a choice between buying a house that is 1.3 million versus a house that is 1.1 million, it makes a substantial difference in terms of upfront costs. So it generally shifts demand towards lower. It shifts demand towards lower
affordable housing.
Exactly. The trick, though, is that we don't have sufficient supply of properties in those prices.
Spamandla, thank you so much for shining a light on this very important conversation, and we certainly hope that homeowners and even first-time buyers who are considering getting into the market will be encouraged by this conversation and for the light that you have shone on it. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
The voice there of FNB senior economist Spamandla Mkhwanazi telling us that Nompumelele, go buy property, go buy more property. Buy more.
Especially
buy more.
Before the threshold for
less than
transfer costs comes into effect, because upfront payment may just be problematic. But
they can be quite steep, don't
they? And if you don't have that money saved up, or your contract with the bank does not include transfer costs, then you're stuck in a bit of a pickle. Yeah? Musibudi Makura is standing by with the sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thank you, Nompumelele. We'll start with the story. So Pyramids FC head coach Krunoslav Jusic has praised his side's resilience as well as character after a dramatic 1-1 draw with Mamelodi Sundowns in the first leg of the 2024-2025 Total Energies CAF Champions League final that was played in Pretoria over the weekend. So Walid Al-Kati's stoppage time header salvaged a crucial draw for the Egyptian side after Lucas Ribeiro Costa had given the South African host side a lead in the second half at Loftus Versfeld on Saturday. So the late equaliser was a reward. The Croatian coach saying this for the spirit his players have shown all season. He also went on to say that Al-Kati's goal is a reward for this champion team with a great character. Now the coach who took over Pyramids FC during the season has overseen a very strong run to the club's first ever appearance in a CAF Champions League final. He also pointed to the team's consistency in battling back from adversity as a sign of their growth. The second leg will be played this coming Sunday, the 1st of June, at the Air Defence Stadium in the city of Cairo in Egypt. Now, Pyramids need a win of any margin to lift the trophy for the very first time in their history and become the fourth Egyptian side to win the CAF Champions League title. Further field now, former Manchester United boss Erik ten Hag has been appointed as the manager of Bayer Leverkusen on a 2-year contract. The 55-year-old Dutchman replaces Xavi Alonso, who left Leverkusen to join Real Madrid. Now, ten Hag has been out of a job since being sacked as United coach back in October of last year, when the Old Trafford club languishing 14th on the Premier League standings in October of last year. So his most successful stint came at Ajax Amsterdam, where he coached coach from the 2018-2022 season, winning 3 titles there and also taking the club to the semi-finals of the Champions League in 2019. Under Spaniard Alonso, Leverkusen secured a double in the 2023-2024 season as they lifted their first Bundesliga title without losing a single game, also winning the German Cup, and then reached the final of the Europa League in that year. So Ten Hag has also been linked with a return to Ajax before now penning a deal with Leverkusen, who finished second to Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga season this season. Back home now, Athletics South Africa's Athletes Commission Chairperson Hendrik Mokhanyetsi says the sport's future looks promising following a strong showing by 10 South African athletes at the Diamond League meet in Rabat, Morocco on Sunday night. Mokhanyetsi believes Athletics South Africa is making the right strides ahead of the World Senior Championships in Tokyo, Japan in September of this year. Agane Simbeni, Prudence Sokhodiso, as well as Zagiti Nene delivered standout performances in Morocco. Simbini was first up as he claimed victory in the 100 meter in a time of 9.95 seconds. Sokhodiso following in second, finishing in second position in the women's 800 meter. This was in a time of 1 minute 57.52 seconds, and then Nene securing second place in the men's 400 meter event in a time of 44.46 seconds. Mokhanyetsi says the athletes are inspired by ASA's ongoing efforts.
I think the overall performance of our athletes shows the continuity the athletes that are making on the world stage, and also puts the federation on the upper level in compared to where we're coming from and what we are developing to achieve. You know, athletes are being exposed to such competitions so that they explore their talent. And as a federation, that's our responsibility that we have been doing, creating a conducive environment for the athletes to go and perform and showcase their talent. So
he also says the athletes represented South Africa and did so with pride, and also showed the federation has even more to offer in track as well as field.
You know, our athletes has put up some strong show across the multiple events, proving their competitiveness on the global stage. Looking at how they performed at Rabat, we are very excited as a federation, and I believe that people who love athletics also will go to their TVs and see what's happening in terms of athletics. The athletes have raised the flag very high, and we are very excited as Athletics South Africa.
And finally, Mohammed bin Sulayem will stand for a second 4-year term. This as FIA president in December, saying he would also welcome any rival candidate and that he is on a mission to grow motorsport and make Formula One's governing body much stronger. Speaking to Reuters at the Monaco Grand Prix over the weekend, the Emirati said that he had taken the decision, which was widely assumed after conferring with members of the International Automobile Federation. He also said he was proud of what he had been able to achieve under his mandate, and also saw no reason to do anything differently second time around. The Emirati said he wanted to keep growing motorsport and to make the FIA stronger and better. This he says is his ambition, and he will continue to do so. He also suggested the FIA, which ultimately owns the Formula One Championship, although the long-term commercial rights are held by Liberty Media, had been neglected. Ben Sulayem's first term had been marked by a lot of controversy since he was elected in 2021 as successor to former Ferrari team boss Jean Todt. Now, there has been battles as well with Liberty Media over commercial matters as well as accusations of sexism, and he has angered drivers in both rallying as well as Formula One by clamping down on swearing with heavy fines. And that's a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. It's 14:37 p.m. Central African Time. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call. The newsroom line is +27 11714 4459. I'm back with more sporting updates in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Es-tu préoccupé par quelque chose? Es-tu passionné par les questions qui comptent? As-tu une voix qui mérite d'être entendue? Eh bien, nous avons la plateforme parfaite pour toi. Téléphone-nous ou fais-nous un WhatsApp au +27 66 408 87 42 et nous te rappellerons. Sois dans la conversation.
Salut Channel Africa, ici Beno le diamant rouge et Bina l'export depuis le Cameroun, le pays des lions. Voilà.
Sois dans la conversation. Il ne s'agit pas seulement de parler, mais c'est ta chance d'exprimer ton point de vue, de partager tes opinions et de t'engager avec une communauté qui valorise ton avis. Suivez-nous sur les réseaux sociaux, visitez notre site www.channelafrica.co.za et préparez-vous à partager vos points de vue sur Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
It is 38 minutes after 2 Central African time. Thanks, Musibudi, for that update. We head on over now to find out what is happening, the very latest in terms of business news. And Bundle Hedbush is standing by.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
A very good afternoon to our listeners. In our top business story this afternoon, the race to lead Africa's top development finance institute is coming to an end this week as the African Development Bank meets in the Ivory Coast to pick a new president on May 29. Analysts say this comes at a time when the continent's biggest multilateral lender faces unprecedented challenges from funding cuts by the United States government. Elizabeth Mapari has more.
The United States federal government wants to cut $555 million in funding to the African Development Bank and its African Development Fund, which offers low-priced financing to the continent's poor nations. The founder of Africa-focused consultancy Development Reimagined says this is going to be a major task and effectively the new president's first test. The annual gathering of heads of state and finance officials taking place this year in the Ivorian city of Abidjan is one of the biggest finance meetings on the continent. Africa's largest development finance institution is owned by 54 African states and G7 nations like the US and Japan.
An expert in South Africa's information and communication technology sector says although internet provided by Starlink can be quicker and more accessible in less developed areas, it remains very expensive. These comments by multimedia and television lecturer at the Durban University of Technology, Nompumelele Ngubeni, come after South Africa's parliament called on Communications and Digital Technology Minister Solly Malatsi to appear over the newly gazetted ICT Policy Directive. Malatsi has proposed policy changes that may let Starlink bypass the 30% black ownership rule. Starlink owner, South African-born billionaire Elon Musk, recently told a gathering in Saudi Arabia that his company is prevented from operating in the country because of the color of his skin. Zondi explained how Starlink differs from other internet providers.
Starlink provides low orbit satellites closer to the Earth, apart from, or rather, which differentiates them from what you're familiar with, which are satellites that are a bit further from the Earth. What you then would need with Starlink is a satellite dish, pretty much similar to what you use for your TV that you install on your roof, and that then would allow for low latency, right? Which would then allow for fast internet access.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says US President Donald Trump will attend the G20 Leaders Summit in Johannesburg later this year. This comes after President Ramaphosa and South African delegation met with President Trump in Washington last week. Tabiso Lihoko has more.
President Ramaphosa has acknowledged in his weekly letter to the nations that while there was a need to correct the false claims of a so-called white genocide, the overarching goal of his engagement was to deepen a strategic economic partnership with the US, who is the country's second largest trading partner. The presidency is pleased with the meeting, saying the meeting established a basis for great engagement and cooperation. The president has further extended an invitation to President Trump to send a government and business delegation to South Africa to explore opportunities for deepening investment and trade.
Nigeria is set to commission 2 major lithium processing plants this year, marking a shift from raw mineral exports towards adding value domestically. The facilities, largely funded by Chinese investors, could help transform Nigeria's vast mineral wealth into jobs, technology, and manufacturing growth within the country. Mining Minister Dele Alake says a $600 million lithium processing plant near the Kaduna-Niger border is slated for commissioning this quarter, while a $200 million lithium refinery on the outskirts of Abuja is nearing completion. The minister says the 2 additional processing plants are expected in Nasarawa State, which borders the capital Abuja, before the third quarter of 2025. U.S. President Donald Trump says he's granted the European Union another month to conclude a trade deal and avert the imposition of new sanctions. He threatened on Friday to impose taxes of 50% on European imports, but following a telephone call with the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, Trump said that he'd agreed to extend the deadline for negotiations until July the 9th. The BBC's Katie Silver has the details.
There does seem to be some progress. Von der Leyen, for her part, said that it was a good phone call with President Trump. He posted on social media saying that it was a privilege to extend the deadline. And for President Trump, though, the issue is that this trading relationship with the EU has been a long-term bugbear. He thinks it's unfair. Now, according to US government figures, last year the US bought almost double from the EU compared to what it sold. And Trump has specifically raised concerns when it comes to trade in products like cars and agricultural goods.
Taking a look at the indicators now, $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1 naira 589. In Botswana, it's at 13 pula 30. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 22. And in Zambia, it's 27 kwacha 46. Moving to the BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 reals 64. Russia, 79 rubles 41. India, it's at 85 rupees 10. China, 7 yuan 19, and South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 80 cents. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 87 to the euro. Looking at commodities this afternoon, gold is trading at $3,326 and platinum at $1,086 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $65.16 a barrel. And those are your business news this afternoon. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Windle Headbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Tune in and turn up the volume. This is Channel Africa.
Parlez-vous couramment le français? Êtes-vous passionné par la radio? Et êtes-vous qualifié pour travailler en Afrique du Sud? Envoyez-nous votre CV et votre 3 minutes démo en MP3 à @channelafrica.co.za pour avoir une chance de rejoindre la famille Channel Africa. Si vous n'avez pas de réponse après 14 jours, cela signifie que vous n'avez pas été retenu. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Join Tebogo and Nompumelele on the upside, where optimism meets opportunity.
Hey, we are super optimistic this afternoon about what's set to happen in Cape Town from the 5th to the 8th of June. The city is set to host a gathering of South Africa's leading designers at this year's Decorex Cape Town, where 100% designed Africa Local Pavilion will be unveiling the new reflections. And now it will be running from those dates at the Cape Town International Convention Centre. It's a curated showcase bringing together standout creatives who are shaping the future of local design. What's really exciting is fashion designers collaborating with some home decor designers as well. I'm talking here about, from the bold lighting of Mash T Design Studio and Greg Marshall to African Jacquard's Sea Cell Textiles and Fashion Meets Furniture by Curation, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, collection, and Uniform. The pavilion will be highlighting the depth and diversity, certainly talent of local talent. We are joined on the line by Alan Hayward as well as Gareth van Niekerk, and they are executive creative directors of Decorex Africa. Gareth, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Hello, good, and you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
And Alan,
great to be on your show.
Alan, thank you very much for joining us as well.
Fantastic, thank you.
Gareth, let me start with you. Let's talk about what inspired the theme You Reflections for this year's pavilion.
I think South African design, and in particular the continent, South Africa within the continent, has never really been more under the spotlight. And I think our designers are rising to the challenge, and I think the whole world is looking at us for where design could go. And I think our designers are really looking back to their past and looking forward to the future and finding ways that those stories come together in what I think is a collection of some of the most exciting design brands and design names and design pieces in the country. And yes, I think we're reflecting. We're having this very kind of thoughtful time to consider where we're going and where we've come from.
And Alan, from furniture to fashion, there's such a variety in this year's showcase. How do you go about choosing who gets featured?
Well, with this particular showcase, what we try to do is try to give people a sense of the length and breadth of the decor and design scene in South Africa. So we have, established names like Mash T, who's known for her beaded lighting. She is probably one of the most successful brands in South Africa. And then we also have kind of more up-and-coming brands doing an interesting collaboration, curation collection, doing an interesting fabric collaboration on their furniture with a company called Uniform, which is Luke Radloff, who is a fashion designer. And then we have kind of lots of bits and pieces in between. But really what we did is we kind of have a cheeky take on New Reflections as being something that's kind of shiny and chromy, and that's what you're going to see at the show, this kind of curated, shiny, futuristic looking pavilion.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's talk.
Giving away too many secrets, Alan.
That made me really smile. It's unlike anything I was expecting, and that's why when Alan was talking about shiny, futuristic, I thought, oh, okay, that's really exciting. Gareth, let's talk about sustainability. It is a hot topic in the world of design today. How do designers in the pavilion then incorporate sustainable practices?
I think what a big approach, while there's this very big focus on sustainable materials and sustainable production, I think first and foremost amongst the collection of designers on the project is that they're really trying to imagine heirlooms and how pieces, as long as they're made really well and with really the highest quality materials you can get, things should be designed to last a lifetime and hopefully much longer than your lifetime. And so I think the approach towards sustainability at this moment, I think, is most exciting in the way that people are really considering how things can live on long after you've made them.
And Alan, in your opinion, how do you think South African design has evolved up until this point right now? And is it going to be reflected at this year's lineup?
So Gareth and I were recently in Milan for Salone del Mobile, which is the big design fair in Italy. And we looked at hundreds of different brands and kind of compared them to what we have at home here in South Africa and Africa at large. And we're very excited that we feel like not only do South Africans have a very particular aesthetic voice, but also a very exciting voice. I feel like there's a kind of can-do attitude that I find with so many African creatives that give real excitement to the pieces and to the brands.
Yeah.
You know, there's a kind of cultural aesthetic that kind of runs through, you know, the historical things through different people in Africa, and I think that really comes through. So I feel like we are on the best place that we've ever been. I think our designs are exciting, and you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of that in Decorex on whole, but also on this particular pavilion.
Gareth, do you have any personal favorite pieces or designers at the pavilion this year?
I will be murdered. I'll be murdered if I say anything.
I knew that's a facetious question to be asking.
but I think those shiny things that Alan are talking about. I think this collaboration between Luke Radloff for curation and the guys from Curation Collection is going to be really push the envelope. I think there's a bit of feathering, there's a bit of chrome. I think it's going to be a bit of an Instagram sensation. But I think there's also just perennial pieces by some really young, exciting designers that you've seen lots of pictures of, but may have never seen in real life. And those are the sort of things I think people are going to leave super excited about.
And Alan, for someone who's never been to Decorex before, what can they expect as soon as they walk through the pavilion in terms of experiences, the layout? What can they expect?
So Decorex is in the exhibition center in Cape Town. It is a huge exhibition. It's broken down into different sections. We have a 100% designs section, which is focused on the best of local furniture and design. Then we have a decor section, which is look at small kind of artworks and different decor items for your home. Then we also have build, so kitchens, bathrooms, windows, all sorts of things like that if you're building a house or you are somewhere involved in the built environment. And then this year we've added also design markets. So that is 40 stands of kind of small SMMEs that are making design products. And we have a whole range of different things like that. So there's something for everyone. But, you know, my favorite part about going to Decorex is being able to get a real overview of the entire design and building industry in a single afternoon or a single day. So if you're building, it's the best place to be. Come and get a whole lot of business cards and get yourself set up.
Alan, you spoke earlier about how exciting the South African design voice is right now, right? They have this can-do attitude. Talk to us about how you see events like Decorex then also influencing international perceptions about South Africa's design.
So, you know, as Decorex Africa, we are really trying to conceptually bring more African brands, not only South African brands, but other African brands into Decorex. So our designers of the year this year for Cape Town is from Egypt, Reform, and then we have Charles Job, who is a Nigerian, and he will be our Decorex Johannesburg designer of the year. Nice. But what we're trying to do is really trying to have a place in Africa for design that you don't see represented in Europe or America or other places in the world. So I think Decorex is the only real home for African design at the moment, and we would like to be further deepening our relationship with African brands so that people from all over the world can come to Decorex Africa and see what the whole continent has to offer.
And Gareth, how can everyday people, not the industry pros, but how can the everyday person engage meaningfully with local designers in growing their brands?
Growing their brands, I mean, I think first and foremost, put your money where your mouth is. I think that you vote with the things that you buy, and I think every decision you can make to support a local business has such a knock-on effect for the growth of the industry. And so I would say, wherever possible, if you can buy a scatter cushion from a local designer, buy a scatter cushion. If you can buy a piece of furniture, then do. But I think even if you want to just kind of take inspiration, I think it's time that as Africans, we start looking at our own lives and the way we live, and our homes and our spaces should be reflective of that. So even if you can't afford or decide that you want to make that decision just yet, I think you should be looking at yourself and going, how does my story affect the way that my space looks and the way that I live and the things I choose to gather around myself? Because they tell a story about you, and you should be telling a story about yourself that is reflective of where you come from.
Alan, the Decorex Johannesburg will be taking place later on in the year, July, I believe. What are the main differences? So for a person who has the luxury of attending either one, what would you say the big draw is, compared to the Johannesburg one?
They are. Decorex Johannesburg is a lot bigger than Decorex Cape Town. We are all 4 floors of the Santa Convention Center in Joburg. A lot of the brands will be repeating what they are doing in Cape Town and Johannesburg, but then there will be additions. We have a talks program called Future Talks. We will be running Future Talks Cape Town and Future Talks Johannesburg. Obviously, they'll have different speakers. So that is an incredible way to really get the pulse of what's happening in design in South Africa. So that would be a good thing to attend on both. But then also we have different restaurants, and we've got different, kind of consumer-facing activities in both different cities. And, it doesn't matter where you are, it's still going to be a great day out. We really think that you could probably come to Decorex 2 or 3 times on the weekend and see completely different things.
Guilty as
quite
charged.
easily. Absolutely. So, you can bring your friends and your husband and someone else, and you will still have a good time doing different things. Come to our champagne bar, come and have lunch with us. There's lots of different interesting, amazing things happening.
Oh, love it. And Gareth, where can people get tickets? Are we able to get them by the door, or do we need to buy them online?
You can buy them at the door, and you can buy them at decorex.co.za. And they are, just Google Decorex Africa. They still, the tickets are available and live now. And but like Alan says, bring as many friends as you can, because it's a beautiful day out.
Yeah, no, it really, really is. Definitely one of those events annually that one has to attend, just to also see what's happening out there, and the people that attend as well. Just fabulous. Alan and Gareth, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Everything of the best for the Cape Town leg.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. See you there.
That is Alan Hayward and Gareth van Niekerk. They are executive creative directors at Decorex Africa. Do check them out if you are in Cape Town, or if you are, I would certainly travel for Decorex
that
Cape
weekend.
Town. Absolutely. Yeah, it's such a fantastic weekend out.
Yeah.
It really is.
We went to the Joburg one last year.
Yeah.
Were you there?
Yeah, I'm there every year.
You're there
every year. I kid you not. My daughter and I are there every year.
And there's so much to see. You can't get through everything in a single day, so it makes sense to do it over the weekend. All right, let's get the latest news headlines with Onele.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo. Looking at your top stories, South Africa's EFF leader dismisses call for black unity, and Uganda's military cuts all military cooperation with Germany. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighter leader Julius Malema has accused the Umkhonto weSizwe party leader Jacob Zuma of being pretentious about his call for black unity. This follows Zuma's long-standing call for unity amongst black and like-minded parties. In its formative stages, the MK party worked with the EFF and formed the Progressive Caucus in Parliament. But the relations of the two parties soured with the departure of the EFF's former Deputy President Floyd Shivambu, who is now the MK's party's Secretary General, together with Dalimpofu, Mzwanele Manyi and Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, amongst others. Malema brands the MK party as his enemy, saying he will never work with a party that seeks to destroy the EFF.
We will never unite with Zuma, who wants to kill the EFF. Whether Trump says the same thing about the two of us, we don't care. We must never be tempted to unite with the agents who want to destroy the EFF. If Zuma batla unity of black people, why did he form MK when there was EFF? There is no unity they are talking about. They are pretentious about it. Zuma is about himself and about his family. That's why he went to form that Spaza show.
South African National Defence Force has dismissed a report by a newspaper article that its members withdrawing from the Democratic Republic of Congo are to surrender their weapons while transiting through Rwanda. It says this article must be condemned in the strongest possible term as nothing but hearsay, Didaba Tsotesi reports.
In a statement, the SANDF says that this article is not factual and appears to be aimed at creating panic and discrediting all involved. It also says that this reporting compromises the safety of the troops. The SANDF says that the author of this story did not verify the facts with the authorities. SANDF troops are withdrawing from the DRC after an agreement was reached by SADC and the East African Community to allow peace processes to resume.
Meanwhile, South Africa's former President Thabo Mbeki says the current and the previous administration in the Democratic Republic of Congo do not understand the challenges facing the country. This after DRC Parliament lifted former President Joseph Kabila's immunity from prosecution. DRC authorities intend to charge the former president with treason and war crimes, linking him to the M23 rebels who have taken control of several towns in the east of the country. While in South Africa, Kabila said the unity of the country is at risk. Mbeki says the situation in the DRC is complex.
The government in Kinshasa, like many others, including Joseph Kabila's government, the government in Kinshasa, I don't think has properly understood the Congo, its challenges, and therefore provide the right solutions. What was very clearly understood by Patrice Lumumba and others, that the task of the unification of the Congo is very important.
Uganda's military has announced that it has cut all military cooperation with Germany. Uganda has accused Berlin's ambassador to Kampala, Matthias Schauer, of involvement in subversive activities in the country. Channel Africa correspondent in Uganda, Mike Adering, explains.
The announcement was made on Wednesday by Colonel Chris Magezi, Acting Director of Defense Public Information, citing serious national security concerns. According to Uganda People's Defense Forces, the suspension was made possible following credible intelligence alleging that the German ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Matthias Schauer, was engaging in dangerous activities that undermine Uganda's internal stability. The Uganda Army emphasized that according to the intelligence findings as justification for terminating military relations.
Lastly, hospital directors in Gaza say overnight Israeli strikes have killed at least 54 people. At least 35 died in a school that is sheltering displaced people in the Gaza city. The BBC's Yolanda now.
There are some really harrowing images circulating on social media appearing to show the building on fire and the aftermath there, with badly burned bodies, including of children. The Israeli military says that this was Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists, as it calls them, using this site as a command and controlled center, that it took steps to mitigate harm to civilians. We're also hearing of at least 19 people killed in Jabalia in northern Gaza in a strike on a house overnight, all but 2 of those from 3 generations of the same family.
Now, recapping on your top stories, South Africa's Economic Freedom Fighters leader, Julius Malema, has accused the Umkhonto weSizwe Party leader, Jacob Zuma, of being pretentious about his call for black unity. Relations between the two parties soured with the departure of the EFF former Deputy President Floyd Shivambu, who is now the MK Party's Secretary General, together with Dalimpofu Mzwanele Manyi and Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, amongst others. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It is 7 minutes after 3 Central African time. We've entered into the third and final hour of The Upside. Very sad times, but we're keeping you entertained.
Time flies.
When you're having fun, certainly. Certainly. But we're having very exciting, more inspiring conversation than anything in this hour, isn't it?
Inspired Monday is what we should call it, actually. In actual fact, this conversation, because we're going to chat to the founder of Legends Barber.
I wonder, you got a fresh cut today, looking very handsome, looking very put together, looking chic, looking, dapper.
Thank you very much.
Did you go to Legends Barber?
I, in fact, did.
Did you? No, you're kidding.
No, for real, I did.
Are you going to tell us about your experience? You're going to give Sheldon some feedback on your experience?
I am definitely going to give Sheldon feedback.
Okay.
Because there's a thing that they do. What was that face for? Because
it looked like you had a complaint there.
It's not really a complaint. It's an observation that I think needs to be brought to the table so that I can better understand.
You better not tell Sheldon who your barber was. Because if it's a bit of a concern, then,
I mean, they did a decent job. I mean, I'll shout them out and say, that Legends Barber in.
Yeah.
I will definitely do that. Yeah. But I certainly want to raise this particular point
so
that I can understand where it comes from. Because maybe if I understand it better, I will have a better appreciation for it. Right now, it's more it's not make sense. I don't know why you are doing it.
And I don't want to pay for it. Either,
I already paid for it also, but I did. It's like, but I'll tell you exactly what it is when we have our conversation.
I
with
love
Sheldon.
it. Cannot wait. Tebogo will also be telling us about what caught his eye in this hour.
Absolutely.
I'll share what caught my eye. We want to hear from you. We always want to hear from you on the show. So let us know what caught yours. It's +27 6340 9126. If you want to see this haircut that I'm talking about that Tebogo got today. Head on over to our live stream. It's at Channel Africa on YouTube, and our various social media platforms on which you can engage us is at Channel Africa 1 Instagram, at Channel Africa 1 on X, at Channel Africa 1 on TikTok, at Channel Africa on Facebook without the one, and of course our live stream. We'll be back.
Right. We'll be back with Sheldon after this.
Darubini ya Afrika na I am Henry Shakif.
Hawa wa Afrika Kusini wenye asili ya kizungu ambao wamepewa ukimbizi huko nchini Marekani. Je, nini chanzo cha wao kuomba ukimbizi nchini Marekani?
Wenyewe wajaomba ukimbizi. Kuna shirika fulani inaitwa AfriForum, shirika mbili za wazungu ambao wanatetea haki ya wazungu hapa, AfriForum na Solidarity. Hao walienda Marekani kufanya kampeni kusema kwamba wazungu wananyanyaswa hapa Afrika Kusini, na walivyofanya hiyo kampeni serikali iweze kuwafuatilia kujua nini ambacho mnasema kwamba mnanyanyaswa.
Kuna namna ya wao kwamba wamepoteza uraia wa Afrika Kusini, na je, endapo Trump akamaliza muda wake madarakani, uhalali wao wa kuishi nchini Marekani ukoje?
Itakuwa vigumu, kifupi itakuwa vigumu uraia wao.
Darubini ya Afrika 11 kamili hadi 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
Ahoy, matey.
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. If it's news and current affairs, leading opinions, and thought leaders that get your groove, this is your home. The Upside. for business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it